Hello. I am talking today with the fabulous, wonderful, very interesting Gillian Smith, the Creative Pilgrim. So thank you for sitting down with me today to chat, Gillian. Welcome,
Oh,
welcome.
my pleasure, Tabitha. Welcome to my little studio in Queensland, Australia.
Queensland, Australia. I love it. It's fabulous. I love seeing your creative space and the word create right there.
Yes, my sister made that for me, and I love it. I love having it in the studio. So
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. All right. So my first question is about your title, your name, the Creative Pilgrim. Can you tell me a little bit about where that came from?
it's it was inspired by travels to Morocco. So always long stories and our life circumstances. I had traveled to Morocco around, I think first trip was 2015. And I went on an art trip that my sister had seen through another friend who was an artist. And I was like, yay, let's go. And at the time, I was actually making metal jewelry, designing and making metal jewelry, which I'd been doing for about 5 years at that point. And I mean, for a jeweler, Morocco, for any artist, I think if someone was going to create a place for artists, it's Morocco. The colors, the light, the people, the scenery. I'm reasonably well traveled and I've never seen anything like it. So that was good. And the trip took us down into the Dra Valley, down in the south, to a very small town called Tamnagold. And we spent a lot of time around an oasis and in a 500-year-old mud brick Casbah, which, if you can imagine, it looks like a like a castle, basically. And I just stepped foot in that place, in the ancientness of it, and it just really moved me. And I got to spend quite a bit of time among the Berber people and also the Tuaregs. And the Tuaregs are more the nomadic tribes of the desert. And they actually, I got fascinated with the Tuareg crosses, which I have some here for show and tell. So they look like this. This is the sort of thing I'm talking about. There's about 21 to 24 different designs among the tribes, and no one really knows what they're for or what their meaning is. There's lots of theories. One of them is like male-female union. And the other one I like is that the young boys or the teenage boys get them when they first do their first trip into the desert on their own with their camels and that. And so they're like a map or a guiding star or something to bring them back home again. So I kind of like that. But I love this. I got caught up with all this nomadic lifestyle. And I just thought, wouldn't it be cool to just move around the world and create? And at the time, jewelry. And I was thinking about running some probably workshops over there and that, which didn't happen at the time. But I went back another 2 trips to Morocco and was almost tempted to stay and live there at one point because I got invited by the owner of the beautiful old Casbah to go and stay there, and I wasn't going to pass that up. And I'd met some of the artists we'd been working with there, and I went back and spent time with them and other jewelers and traveled around a lot. It was fabulous. So so that's when, and as I originally liked the idea of the creative nomad, but that was taken. And so then I was playing with ideas and Pilgrim came. And at first I was a bit, to me, it had a little bit too much of a religious connotation. But then when I looked up more the meanings around it and how it was about a journey and a dedication, and that's how I feel about art and the creative process, any creative process. At the time I was doing jewelry, but I guess even then maybe I knew I was going to get back into painting and that sort of thing. And when I when I was coming back from Morocco on the last trip, which was January 2017, my parents were getting quite elderly, and Dad was already in hospital, and then Mum, and they were in and out a bit. So yeah, travels got a little bit on hold. And then when they passed away, would have been 2018, mum, then dad in 2018. And then middle of 2019, I was like, okay, what do I, because I spent, a bit of time obviously being there for them. And before that, I'd been looking after a friend who needed help with rehabilitation. So a few things going on. And I just sort of sat down and was like, well, what do I want to do now? What does Gillian Smith really want to do and dedicate her time to? And the two things that came to me was yoga and art. And I also felt I wanted to, my dad was an artist as well. So maybe he, I felt I wanted to connect back to painting. And also this connecting back to my own feminine side and a journey with that as well. And so I made that decision. I enrolled for my yoga teacher training for 2020 and I started painting, and I actually I closed my jewelry business down, which had been running for, by then 8 or 10 years. And, I had a web page, I had a Gilly Bee design brand, I did markets, I was running workshops. As I know, I'd sort of taken that to where I could as well. I'd tried every technique and played around with all the processes, and I just went, no, it's time. And I shut it all down, packed all my tools away and started painting again. But I was like, well, how do I start? And I had this feeling around feminine energy, but not like life drawing, something else. And then my sister, who's also an artist, sent me an email for Painting the Feminine with Connie Solero. and that kind of kickstarted me off again. And then it's just gone from there. So I've only been as such painting again since mid 2019. But and so the Creative Pilgrim, the name was there from around 2000, I'd say 16, 17, and I registered the name. It's just been sitting and I hadn't used it. But even then I must have known something was going to happen, change. So, and now, just now it's, I've set up a web page and starting to really get into it. So yeah. That's a bit of a story, but that's kind of how it came about. And I really love the concept now. And it's my business name, my brand name for art, but it's also me. I feel I am a creative pilgrim, and I feel the people that come to me as well, my students, are also on their own creative journey. So it's this concept of a journey guided by a journey of discovery, guided by intention and intuition. That's what I wrote when I first was like the Creative Pilgrim, and I just wrote that line and I went, so
is that a pilgrimage then? A journey that's guided by, can you repeat that? I wonder if I have it right here.
So it's the Creative Pilgrim is the name of the business, and I think of myself that way. But I wrote after it a journey of discovery. And I think that's a discovery of the creative process and a discovery of self, which art tends to do, guided by intention and intuition.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. But I'm wondering if that's what a pilgrimage is. I like the word. I like that word. I do.
I do now. It sits with me comfortably, but I think, I don't know why. When I was like, is it a bit religious? But it's not really, it's not connected to any one religion. It's a lot of different beliefs, spiritual beliefs do take pilgrimages. And it's certainly something that needs, dedication and definitely an intention to go on that journey. And I think that's how we are with our art and creativity. It takes, I don't think I even have to tell you this because I know some of your story, but you have to be dedicated. Yeah. You have to be passionate. And you have to love it. It's so, it's not always an easy path. It has its challenges, as we know, but Yeah, so now I like it. I really like it, and it's fun for me now because it's now obviously is the time for it to be, and you know I've just the last month set up the web page
Yeah.
and seeing it come into form. So yeah, it's very exciting.
I love it. And I
Mm.
love how you just took that turn. You're like, okay, that's it. Done with creativity. Okay.
Everybody was a bit like, oh my God, because, you know, people had started collecting my jewelry. Like, you know, they like, you know, they'd have several pairs of my earrings or, you know, so when I just went, that's it, goodbye, I'm over, thank you very much. And everyone was like, oh my God, but I'm not, some artists, creative people, I say, like my sister, she easily does, like she'll paint and she spins and dyes her own wool and knits and she does glass work and she can do like that. For me, I seem to need to just be focused on one thing. And also limited space, like jewelry is very dirty. I use 2000-degree torches. I like a lot of pointy, spiky things, a lot of hammers. So it's a different sort of thing. And I'd taken it to, with the jewelry too, it had got to the point where I was more producing what people liked, what I knew they wanted, what would sell well,
Right.
and kind of meeting a demand for online markets and so forth. And I'm like, that's not creative joy. That's not the creative process, because I like things just to unfold and happen. So I think I realized that was happening for me as well. And it's always a bit of a fine line, I think, when we turn our creative practice into a business.
Yes.
It's finding that balance. And you know, maybe it was just time. I think there was a lot of things going on. As I said, I think even I will say the death of my father, who was also an artist, you know, maybe I felt I wanted to connect to the art painting again in that way. I don't know, but I just felt it was time. And yeah, I was like, I just totally shut down. And everybody was like, oh my God, but it really didn't worry me. I just felt I had to let go of that and focus on as such painting, you
I
know.
think that's wonderful. I love that.
Yeah,
because you're
it's
doing it for your soul.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And thank goodness I had the awareness to do that.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. So I have this quote from your artist timeline reflection.
Oh
Uh,
no.
I love this. I love
I
this.
might remember it.
There seems to be a strong connection between creativity and spirituality. The energy that flows through and around me when practicing Reiki and yoga feels the same as the energy I experience when I'm creating art. Ooh, love that.
Yes. Well, that says it all, really.
That says it all.
No, I need to explain it. Okay. It, this is something, again, that I think probably from when I started with the concept of the creative film, I felt for a long time there is a strong connection, or not even a connection. I think they're actually the same thing. Creativity, spirituality. It is I'll say, my spirituality and my spiritual practice. And I think that was really enforced isn't the right word, but it came to me more strongly when I did my yoga teacher training last year. Through doing my yoga teacher training, I realized I really was very much an artist and a creative person, and I really wanted to share that with other people. And it because yoga, I guess the yoga teacher training really helped all of us to really, what I think of, standing in the truth of who we are, stepping into the truth of who we really are. And I don't know if I'd be here now doing Ignite and what I'm doing if I hadn't done that yoga teacher training as well. It was like a good grounding for now. So yeah, I do. I really think it's just this, and the energy to me, it isn't like, oh, this is creative energy in one box and this is healing energy in another box. And this is source energy for yoga. It's all the same energy. And it's just, we're like a channel for it. And again, through doing my Reiki training, which I did end of 2019 also, I think. I did several levels of that, and I'm actually a Reiki master now, which always sounds funny. I sound like this kind of kung fu character or something, but in Reiki healing, we channel the energy. We're just like a conduit. We just channel the energy into the person we're kind of working with, and it's up to them how they receive that energy and how they use it. And I feel the same with my art. I just kind of sit down to the page, and it just whatever comes. I don't really plan a great deal with my art. And it's hard explaining that to other people, but I don't think about it much. It just is like, it just happens.
Comes through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel. I feel it very strongly. And so it's, I think things like Reiki and yoga just help me to connect to that energy and open up to it more. And also to protect myself from other energy, like, you know, other people's energy, what's going on in the world. Yeah, that all affects us. So being able to have a bit of a buffer, which is something we do learn when we do particularly Reiki and yoga too. But particularly Reiki energy, you have to, part of the practice is learning to set your own protection and boundaries. So
Brilliant.
but no, I just feel it's something I felt for a long time. Energy is energy to me. It's all source energy. Maybe it's how we use it or channel it. So we channel it into our art and our creativity, or we channel it into healing. But, you know, when you think about it, I mean, it's healing. All art is healing. So,
it is.
Yeah, so it's just one thing for me.
So then that makes creating art a spiritual practice, yes?
Yes, but not too serious level with that, because art to me should always be fun. Absolutely. Like really, like I think the process has to be fun and playful, and that's really now what I love is this time around painting again. I've actually connected to the same creative joy I had when I was a child painting. Ooh. That same freedom.
That's
wonderful. I know, doesn't it just make you go ooh? Yes. Like, and that is I can't, that is the most special thing in the world. Like I literally have no fear around my art. I don't have any apprehension. I'm not concerned about the end results. It's all about just the process and the fun. So there is that level of spirituality and energy, but it's also a fun thing. It's not too serious, you know, and that's what I really love, when I can bring that out in other people, when I can get them to let go and just have that kind of trust in the process. Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
It's huge. And that is so needed in the world, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like there's a lot of seriousness. So again, it's a mix of things, because I really respect the art and the process and believe in it a great deal. But I don't want to be, you know, it needs to still be fun. You need to be enjoying it and not be too precious about it in a way.
Yes. Okay, I have to move on, or else I'm going to get sucked into talking and I'm interviewing.
I know.
It's such good, juicy stuff.
It is juicy.
So this kind of goes right into that. So I read that you said people have called you an artist, but that you never took your work that seriously. So I know you like to keep it light and playful, but do you take your work seriously?
I'm not sure if serious is the right word. I mean, I wrote that word, but I think maybe I have more respect and more dedication to my art now and being an artist. Maybe it's from my point of view. Because it's just always been a fun thing. I grew up in a family, like my father was always painting, and, you know, we just had his artwork on the walls, and my sister was painting. And as we all got older, we would enter art competitions together and do this stuff. And we were a bit naughty, actually, because we'd always, like, you know, you have to write about like it's the family I grew up in. Okay, so we used to write about, you know, you know, you have to write that stuff about how you were feeling or what the painting was about, and you know, I would just create this stuff because I'm like, oh, you know, what happens when I put this color here, and if I throw water on here, or if I scrape across here, you know. So we'd create these paintings, and so we deliberately used to write like just rubbish, like just make up stuff. And then we used to laugh. We'd go to the opening of the show, and I apologize now to anyone who's watching this who's been to our shows. But we used to love standing next to our paintings, and people would be looking at them and going, "Oh yeah, I can really see." And so this is a bit of like true confessions here, isn't it? And it used to amuse us. And the other really naughty thing we did was, like, you know, if someone else won the show, the painting, you know, we'd all stand around and go, oh, what? Are the judges blind? How could that like win? And what are they seeing? And yeah, very, very naughty. So not too serious about some of that stuff, and certainly not too precious about it from that, which I think was good in a way, not to be disrespectful to other people's art. But yeah, so it was that thing. And I was often surprised too, like painting, and before I've started painting again, like, because I've always painted since a child or done art, but I would actually be quite surprised when I created a piece and people wanted to buy it, you know, or I just, because I don't think I ever was caught up in the end result. And I never was really, I actually find it hard when people say to me, what do you paint? What is, what do you create? Because I don't have a theme as such. You know, back in the day, people would expect you to be like a landscape painter or a portrait painter or something. And I was doing, I suppose in those days, it would have been called abstract art more, or I don't think we had the terms like intuitive art, or, you know, art journaling wasn't really a thing. And I can remember my dear mother, because my father was more traditional. He was an oil painter, you'll be happy to know. He loved oils also, like you. And he was more a traditional, you know, landscape painter and very good at it. But I wasn't, that wasn't my thing. And I always used to love it if I was with my mother and someone would go, oh, you know, what is it that your Gillian paints? And she'd go, oh, she does this weird stuff.
I love it.
And I'm still doing weird stuff.
Hey,
so
weird stuff.
Yeah. So yes, I don't know. Does that answer where we were going? Have we got off track totally?
I think so. So then my next question is, do you consider yourself an artist or a creative person or something else? Do you call yourself an artist?
I think, yeah, now I do call myself an artist. It's funny, people have always referred to me as an artist forever. Like it's when I run into even like old high school students or something, you know, they go, oh, the thing we remember about you was you're an artist. And yet for me, maybe just because it was such a part of my life and being in a family that also was creative, it just was there. I didn't think of it as particularly unusual or special. But we did grow up in a time too that art was not what you do for a profession. It was still that thing of, it was a hobby, right, you know, and that was fine, but, you know, get a real job. So there still was that kind of thing going on. But now I'm quite comfortable calling myself an artist. Yeah. And again, I don't think that's to do with how other people perceive me. I think it's because I've now decided to dedicate myself to my art, to my creative practice. And I think it's time. I also think it's, you know, as I'm 60 this year, like how much time do I have left? None of us know, but I feel I really, if I'm going to do it, I do. And it just, things tend to happen organically in my life. It's not always I plan them deliberately. It just feels right. And it felt like the time. And yeah, I just started painting, and then I did Painting the Feminine, and a couple other things. And it's funny how like faces keep coming out in my work. I mean, as an artist, the last thing most of us want to paint is faces, but I don't plan them. They just emerge through my work. So that's what comes, that's what I deal with. So I have spent a little bit of time doing some online, understanding more about faces and painting them. Not that mine are anatomically correct, but yeah. So that's been interesting. So that's sort of what's been happening, and they just keep emerging. I find it hard actually to create something without faces in it now.
Isn't that interesting? And I love
Yeah.
how you listen. You just do it. You're not trying. It sounds like you're not trying to control it.
No, I try to go with the flow of my life, and have done for a while in all areas. And I do try and listen to my intuition, which is usually pretty spot on. But it's that balance too, because you have to you have to put in the effort. Like, the Creative Pilgrim and this concept of me transitioning from, my bookkeeping business into more of a creative business. And I don't do a lot of bookkeeping anymore. It's very I'm sort of semi-retired, let's say, at the moment. It's not going to happen by me just going, oh, thank you, universe. That's very nice. I would like to have a creative business. It takes effort and dedication. And I think, probably I should change the word serious with dedication, because we all have that creativeness within us. But to be an artist and to have a full-on creative practice, it takes a lot of effort.
It sure does. Excuse me. Yes.
Yeah.
I hear you. I hear you, sister. Oh my gosh. So I know this is a big question, and maybe we've covered it or touched on it, but is there a reason that you create?
Yes, I would die if I didn't create.
That's a good
simple answer. It's such a part of, not even a part, it is who I am. I feel creativity to the core of my being. I just, wherever I am, whatever form that takes, yes, it just is there. I can't imagine a day going by. In fact, if I can tell if I haven't done at least a bit of a scribbling or something physically creative during the day, I can tell I'm different at the end of the day. So I always try and at least close out the day with something. Yeah, I've got to.
Yeah. And I hear you when you say that it's a part of it's who you are. I get that
Yes.
from reading about you, because I don't think if you tried to avoid art, I don't think you could,
No, I don't. I hadn't quite thought about it like that. And it was only recently when I was asked to do my artist timeline and reflection. Again, I don't think I'd really thought about, I'm not someone who thinks about my past a lot. I'm quite good at being in the present moment. So looking back and realizing that it's just always been there. It's always been there. And so it's kind of like, it's like anything about us when it's so strongly entrenched in who we are. You don't kind of think about it. It's just who you are. You don't. And I suppose to me it's the other way, that I don't understand how some people don't create or don't do art. I find that really, how can you not respond to that creativity and allow it? It's part of being, like, to me, it makes you a whole person.
Yeah. Well, I think that's why we have a lot of problems. That's one reason we have a lot of problems in the world, that, people just resist it. I don't know. There's a lot of.
Actually, yeah, the resistance, or even maybe there's fear around it.
Definitely.
Which is a shame.
Yeah.
So, and as I said, that's for me at the moment. I don't know why, but I don't know what happened to cause it even, but I literally have no fear around art. Absolutely none. I don't.
Well, you grew up in that creative household, though. Your father was an artist, right?
I did. Yeah.
Your
But
mother
I
was
think,
a creator.
yeah, but I think previously when I talk before and after, I talk before, kind of before I did jewelry, like, 10 years ago, um, I would have had apprehensions, or maybe it's because I had expectations about the results of my art. And maybe it was more because in those days I was painting more for something to kind of look or be like something, or trying not to be like something. There was still, putting our artwork out into the world, and even more so now with social media, is a very vulnerable thing to do, especially if we're the sort of artists that that's how we do express ourselves. And it is part of our soul, as far as I'm concerned, in general, when you're putting your artwork out there. So that can be quite, confronting. But there's not, I just don't have any of that anymore. It's just gone. Like, there's no, people talk about inner critics and all this. I don't have any of that. Like, it's just not there.
What happened? I mean, did something just shift? Was it Morocco?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I wish I could, like, bottle it or write a, do a course on how to let go of all that stuff. I honestly don't. I would say part of it was doing my yoga teacher training, because there's a lot of, we do the practice, but there's a lot of philosophy and this, I think it was a number of things, but it says these last few years, I really feel it's like, and the pilgrim thing again, it's like I've been on this journey back to myself, to be in touch with who I really am. And art is part of that journey. And it's, yeah, but it is weird. I mean, I only realized this recently when I've been creating, and, I hear other artists talking about their fears and concerns, and I'm like, I actually don't have it. Like, what? It's not, it's really, I mean, I will look at a piece and go, oh yeah, it needs a bit of this, or I think it needs a bit of yellow, or, I don't like that, I'll rework it. But no. And whether I keep coming back to this, trust the process. I just, last year, my word was trust. I have a word every year. And it was like trusting myself, and then it became trust in the process, because I am obviously a very body-centered process artist. And that, and this year my word is courage, to get everything out there and teach again. So, but yeah, maybe that's it. And I mean, really, what's the worst that's going to happen? People don't like my art, and art is so perceptive. Like, what you like, I mightn't like, so yeah. So I wish, I'll try and think on it more and try and work out a formula, because I think I could do well with that. But no, there wasn't like a specific, oh my God, this happened, and then I wasn't scared anymore. Right. But I just, no, and that's why I think it's just this joy, like when you're a child and you're just drawing and scribbling, often lying on the floor on your tummy, just creating, and you don't care if the sky is red and the dog is purple. It's great,
Fantastic.
And I think it's the time we're in with art too, because when I was an artist previously, I've been artist all along. It sounds funny, but when I was creating previously, we were, in a way, it was like, you did oil paints or you did watercolors, and then acrylics came on the scene. Like, this is my age now. I can remember when acrylics were like a new thing, and they were exciting. I loved acrylics because you could do a lot of stuff with them. And we did have like pastels and a few other things, but I think like what's known as journaling, art journaling, has opened up, like, that, and scrapbooking as such. These things have opened up so many more materials, and sort of the craft world and the art world aren't so separate. It's all art and it's all creativity. And I think that's amazing, because this time around, when I started painting as such again, the products, I mean, oh my God, soluble graphite sticks and water soluble crayons and Stabilo oil pencils and even acrylic paints. It's not just one type anymore. There's easy flow and there's heavy bodied, and so you can use them in so many different ways, and jelly plate printing, and just endless, which for me, who loves the process and experimenting, it just brings me incredible joy.
Yes.
Like
So
I keep using the word joy, but I can't think of another word that's just it.
It's perfect.
My heart is like, I get, seriously, if you saw my studio after I've had a creative day, there will be everything. Because I'm like, I'll just try this. And what if I grab this and I'll just do a bit of jelly, it's just unbelievable. And I love that. It's like,
It's wonderful. And so let's talk about supplies then. What are you, I know you're all over the place with the supplies, but what are you loving right now? And I know nothing about the jelly plate stuff, and I'm so intrigued by it.
Yeah, I just recently, and I mean, I go through phases, because I think last year I was really into, I was revisiting soft pastels, and I was doing a lot of work with mixing up, playing with soft pastel and collage, which was a bit of an unusual mix, but that was really cool. And I find myself, I'm really sort of fascinated with collage at the moment. And before I just wasn't really like, collage. But I think it's because I did start jelly plate printing, which is heaps of fun. And so I was making my own collage papers, and then I make my own collage papers, like with paint and ink and different effects, or just photocopy old paintings. So the collage paper was my own creation in itself. So that's probably why I started using it more. And I also, something that came to me just recently actually was this concept I realized I was doing of breathing new life into old art. So I would either rip up old art if it was paper, or photocopy it and reuse it in different formats. And that's kind of fun. Like, that's another way of going back into some of our pieces. And so that was a collage thing. And then I've been hearing about the, I think it's probably when I first started again. It might have been in painting the feminine, or something I was doing, and someone was using these water-soluble graphite sticks. And they're thick. They're like a big, thick crayon. And actually, it's probably, no, it's not usually. Oh, yes, it is. I was going to say it won't be far. So this is one of my favorite. You can see how thick that is.
Yeah.
And that's like it's a 6B. They come in a 9B too, but it's really black. And it's like you can dip it in the water and draw with it, or go through water with it, or draw with it and activate. And because it's like a big chunky crayon, it's so fluid and fun to work with. And so I use that a lot, and I love Stabilo pencils. So anything that can be activated by water.
Okay.
And then so I think it's the activation I love as much as the sort of magical, you draw this stuff on and you hit it with water.
Yeah.
And then I saw people using and talking about the Caran d'Ache Neo 2s, which are a water soluble wax crayon.
Ooh.
So you can use them like, I know you use the oil pastels. They will look kind of like that. They're quite creamy. But then you can activate them with water to get amazing colors. So that's all kind of fun. I'm using a lot of the black graphite stick in that, because I'll draw with it, a bit like how we use charcoal. So working over it, it gets a bit grungy, but I like the grunge, and then I'll bring it back, because I work in several layers. So that's where I am. And I'm starting now experimenting. So the things I love using, like in journals and on paper, I'm experimenting with bringing them up to canvas now, because I've just felt recently I want to get larger. So even this painting here behind me, a lot of that, there's collage on that and water soluble stuff. And then I'll seal it with maybe some clear gesso and work over again. So yeah. So they're probably I'm not using, I do use a bit of acrylic paint still. Like acrylic paints would be my other thing I use a lot. But yeah, that's where I am at the moment. But that can change. yeah, you know, next month I could be
Right.
saying
Yeah.
something entirely different, but
Yeah. That's why I said at this moment. Yeah.
this, at this moment it's the water soluble and the collage, which I
Oh, how
just
this-
been having a lot of fun.
all right.
And reusing, I love this kind of reusing, repurposing previous artwork and bringing bits of it back in. Actually, you can't see. I'll just show. Oh, which way am I going? Oh, other way.
Yeah. Otherwise, George the
Having
Bull's.
an easel on wheels.
Oh, yeah.
So this section here, these three, I don't know if you can see those three
Yeah.
little figures.
Yes.
Yeah, they're from a previous painting. They show up a lot in my artwork. And so I just, you know, instead of repainting them, I just photocopied off the other painting. So how easy, stuck them on. And then I do work over them again, you know, but it's like, why not? You know? So
That is such a great tip. That is such a great tip.
if it's
Oh
an
my
element you like from another painting that you want to bring in, then you can, why not?
I love
You know,
it.
it's your artwork, and it's like, and I often will work over again with other materials or change it up a bit, but it's
Oh gosh, I'm gonna have
you
to
know,
try that.
I know, like, you know, you just do one lot of trees, photocopy it, stick it on the next canvas.
Put a tree down there, literally. Oh my god.
So it's a lot of fun. So yeah, as I said, I almost find it odd that I'm working with collage, because again, previously we wouldn't have taken collage as a serious material.
Right.
You know,
Right.
if we were putting a painting out there or going in a show, there wouldn't have been like a, you know, it would have been like the oil section or the landscape section, not so much the.
Right. Yeah. I just I've recently went to a is it Rauschenbau? Robert Rauschenbau, not sure how to pronounce his name, exhibit. He was around in the 50s and 60s, and he did a lot of big collage, and that
Wow.
changed things for me. It's like, I've got to do collage. So
Yes.
I'm sort of relating to your collage.
Yeah.
Love
My sister actually, who's also an artist, she's always been big on collage.
Yeah.
Always. It's been a big part of her work, but it's just recently I've really taken to it. And you know, amazing stuff can happen. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
because you can use so many different things
Absolutely.
into it.
Okay, I have two things. I just got, first of all, three things, because I got pulled into, is that right above your paint caddy there, those figures with the eyes.
Oh, the black and they're two separate paintings.
Oh my god.
One above each other, so, or behind, or
no,
or
yeah, the one, yeah, those guys, yeah.
I just pull them down for you.
Okay.
Okay, so again, this is collage. So this one, which one? This one. So that is again, the eyes are a photocopy of another face that I did.
Okay, the eyes are
into
closed.
this.
Okay, I'm seeing. Oh wow.
Yeah, so those eyes are closed.
Yeah.
But then again, here's my three ladies again in this one.
There they are. Oh, I love them.
So this piece, because we've been in the air cycle with Ignite, and you know, one of the questions was, what is the color of air? I'm like, what kind of question? Oh God, I hate all these questions. Don't make me write more stuff. But I was thinking, and also it was this concept of all the stuff that's in the air, like, you know, sound waves and light waves and all the technology zapping around, and you know, lots of nice stuff too, like, you know, floral smells, and like the moment it's raining here, so the smell of rain, but also unfortunately toxic things as well. So I thought I'd challenge myself, because I love color obviously, but to just work in like black and whites. So I'd actually photocopied and had lying around, I probably just pressed the wrong button on the photocopy. I had black and white photocopies of some bits of art. So I started with that. So there is collage underneath all this. And then I came over with some stenciling, which is the other thing I really like lately, is stenciling. Some stenciling. All the black is obviously my lovely black graphite pencil. wet, and then working back over with some white Posca pens as well. So it was really hard for me to do that, just the monocolor, but I loved it. I love the results. So I'll probably play with it a bit more. But at one point I was very tempted to bring in some yellow or red or something. I was like, oh my God, but I really like the result. But yeah, these three women, they first turned up when I very first started painting again. In painting the feminine, they were like these three wise beings. They just keep turning up.
I love
And
it.
these I actually drew. I didn't photocopy, by the way. But it's like, yeah. And they just are quite different. And often one will have eyes open, one closed, and one half. I don't know why. That's
Interesting.
Yeah. So these are both, yeah, again, they're collage and water solubles, and same with this. So I'll stick some bits of collage down and work back over with the, there's always a lot of black in my paintings from the graphite stick. And then, you know, I probably sprayed some water and let it all run down, and you just get such brilliant effects. And then come back over with, I don't know if you can see the pen, but yeah, with a bit of Posca pen for some more detail. So yeah, so that's.
What do you use to stick the paper down? What is your favorite?
At the moment, I'm using. I have a very big. I have this very big tub of Mod
Oh, you're using Podge.
Yeah, we can't always get it in Australia. Like I heard, because you know we watch different art videos, and I think it's quite popular in America. But I've mainly been using it because I bought this very big container of it, probably over 12 months or more ago, and it's still going. So, but really any white PVC glue,
yeah, okay.
You know, craft glue. So it's, you know, they all seem to work. Different ones I've been using. The main thing is, yeah, really use a lot. Like make sure things are stuck down, the edges. You know, although that's another fun technique too, when it's drying, if something's not stuck on, you can just grab the corner and rip it through, and that creates another nice effect.
I do that all the time. I love it. I love that. I love it.
I know. So, but yeah, that's, I think the main thing is really, you know, you want your edges stuck down. You want it stuck down really well if you're going to work over it.
All right. So that leads to my next question, which is, I'd like to hear about some upcoming workshops that you have. I know you had one recently in your garden area, right?
Yeah, that was fun. So that was based on some of these techniques. And also I bring a little bit of the meditation and spirituality that way into my workshops. That's just how they roll. So that one we did, it was called a water mandala workshop. So we actually use those wooden panels to work on, because they're for collage, for particularly people who haven't done a lot, they're much firmer surface, whereas canvases have a bit more give. So yeah, so we did a layer of collage and it was all around water theme, and we used all my own handmade sort of photocopied collage papers, which people really like that. Actually, they preferred it to just ripping stuff out of magazines. So that was interesting. And then we did a base of collage and the water soluble crayons, a bit of acrylic, stenciling, all the things I'm loving at the moment. And then we created a mandala over the top. So it was really beautiful. And just seeing everybody, and I think even the mandalas, I had them that people could, you know, trace them, transfer. They didn't have to draw their own. And so there wasn't any drawing, painting. I don't think we really used any paint brushes other than on the gluing. So I think it was good for people who had that concern that they were not artists, that, you know, or they don't have all these skills, because it wasn't. You just had to glue stuff down and scribble around with some crayons, and everyone was just having fun and like really loved it. And that made me really happy. So, but this work I'm doing now, and this concept of trust the process. So the next one is in May, 15th of May, and they're just like 3 hour as such. They always go over, but 3 hour workshops. So the next one's going to be called Trust the Process, and it's based on that concept of breathing new life into old art. But of course, a lot of people don't have old art lying around. So I'll be The first half I'm going to have, they'll create their own collage papers just on paper using some different techniques, you know, throwing some paint around, scraping some paint around. Maybe I might bring in some inks and a bit of water spray, just and scribble. So creating a couple of their own collage papers. And then while they're drying, we usually would have morning tea. And then afterwards, then we'll create something like that one I showed you, where we use our own collage papers and work over them to a new art piece.
Yeah.
So,
that's
and
wonderful.
if people are feeling comfortable, I may even do a little bit of creating a face that they can either create their own or just photocopy one of mine.
Yeah.
So,
that's beautiful.
Yeah, so that's yeah, and for people, you know, people from my last workshop have already signed up for this one.
That's good news.
Encouraging, and also just it makes you feel really fabulous that obviously they enjoyed it so much they want to come back for more, and seeing that creative spark in them is now lit. And I love it because they've sort of been messaging me going, oh my God, Jill, I was in, you know, in a office supply place and I saw those pens we were using. I'm going to get some, you know, or they send me pictures of the artwork they created in the workshop hung on their walls. And I love that. Like that just brings me, you know, it's so fun when you see these people light up like that. And they're like, oh, you know, it was in we have a big, like a stationery store here called Office Works.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, they have an art section, and one of my students was like, oh my God, I was just in Office Works. It's like a whole new world. I didn't know all this stuff existed, you know.
Opening eyes.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. And then I have scheduled another mandala workshop in June to kind of tie in. It'll be our winter solstice here in Australia. So same sort of principle as the first mandala workshop, but it'll be like Earth mandala, and sort of a bit of a celebration of the winter solstice and earth and grounding and around that.
That's wonderful.
And so more of those sort of colors.
Well, go on. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I just want to say, so I like the water mandala one, I really kind of stuck to like bluey, greenies, watery colors with everything. But people still had the option if they, you know, if they suddenly went, I need some red, or I had it, but it limiting was kind of good. And the earth one will be more, you know, reddy browns, yellows, dark greens, like autumny feeling colors. Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. Do you have any plans to do any online classes?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm still, it's like everything's happening at once. It's like March has just been crazy. It's like, okay, I'm going to do this. So it's like, create a web page. Let's have a newsletter. Okay, how do we run an online course? So I'm just looking into the platforms to do that, because, you know, a lot of people would love to do, or they've expressed a lot of interest in like wanting to do my last workshop, but not everybody can physically be here, of course. So, and I think it's a natural next step to get our stuff out there and reach a bigger audience and spread more creative joy. Yes, so I'm just working out, like the water mandala one I just did, I will bring that first up as an online course. So I was just thinking about, because when you go online, of course, you're not, you know, there'll be a pre-recorded course. So really thinking of, I guess, over communicating and, you know, all the little aspects like a supply list. You know, when people come and do live workshops with me, I supply the materials.
Right. It's a whole different thing. Yeah.
Supply list and just descriptions and breaking it down in videos. So that watch this space. It's going to happen.
It'll happen. So if you're interested, and I know you are, because I'm interested, we're going to put a link to her website and you can sign up for her newsletter and she will send you the information.
I will.
Online. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
It's been fabulous. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tabitha, for having me here. It's been a lot of fun, as always. I know we could talk about creative process all day.
It's true. All righty. Thank you.
Thank you.